have it be about business, be clear, be unapologetic. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to stack the cash and give my family a pleasant future. That's what it's about. And then the other stuff, it's like what I really love to do, but now it can come from a place where I'm secure. I know who I am. You can trade me a bag of potatoes or a blunt, and that's just as good as any other exchange of energy for being that way and being that way with people. Well, my week has just been like, I've realized that there are weeks and days in the year where my spiritual growth and that the character development is the number one priority, and other things like certain professional obligations, they got to go below that. Not that they don't have to get done, but that's the priority.
Yeah.
Growth, healing, rest, recovery, that needs to be like, because like the rest of the time I'm so pumped that I'm like good to go, like let me at them, let's go. So when the days come or the weeks come where that's not the vibe, it's been really challenging for me to like be able to recognize that and to like take my foot off the gas. So that's what this week's been a lot about for me.
I love it. And I understand and support that, of course, because I feel the same way, right? And, it is a change, okay? It's not how we are taught or learned to operate. So there's a learning curve with it. And so don't sweat it. Nobody else is sweating it. It's like learning anything else, like ClickUp or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it requires dedication. And, the fact that you are aware of what you're intending to do, what your intention is, right? To honor both that balance, right? Then the quicker it will come that you'll recognize it. And so, that's just practice, right? You're practicing a new skill, and I'm fucking here for it, and I'm happy to hear it. And in many ways, I wish you were here. There's so much people could learn from you, especially the guys. They need some help.
I know.
I know they do something, but I cannot give them what they need, because unlike when I was a young girl, right, in my teens, I cannot be one of the guys anymore. They can't see me as one of the guys. I'm too feminine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're an empress. You can't just pretend to be one of the boys.
That's right.
It's funny. It's really funny. I no longer invite myself to those events. I no longer offer myself in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I am so open when the invitation arrives.
Okay.
Like, I really, like, deep down, like, I have lots to share, but I'm also, it's different. Like, it's different than when I had this sort of energy of compassion. It didn't always have a strong boundary system around it. And it didn't always, it was part of sometimes my people pleasing nature, or wanting to be the hero, wanting to be the helper, that kind of helper's ego a little bit. And so where I'm at now, it's funny because someone was asking me the other day about like my business stuff, and I took it back to being in Guatemala, being at a ceremony with my teacher Sule, really seeing what a healer was all about, and then having the message in that ceremony, which was to focus on business, focus on the work that I'm here to do, and not so much on the healing arts, or I was teaching meditation classes and breath work, and I was developing those skill sets. But the message in that ceremony was very clear, was to like leave that stuff to the volunteer community realm for now. Don't try and make that a financial thing. Go and like secure your financial future, have it be about business, be clear, be unapologetic. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to stack the cash and give my family a pleasant future. That's what it's about. And then the other stuff, it's like what I really love to do, but now it can come from a place where I'm secure. I know who I am. You can trade me a bag of potatoes or a blunt, and that's just as good as any other exchange of energy for being that way and being that way with people.
I'm just thrilled to hear you say that. And in fact, every time we speak, now that we had that one conversation, you're like one of the only, I shouldn't say only, but one of the few people I know that really understands about it, you know, like a lot of people don't really get that. And
sorry, what did you say? Understands what? I didn't hear that one.
Understand what you're talking about, that process, that approach to things, right? Because it's not that you can't make money off of it, of healing or being in service that way. Of course, a fair exchange of energy is really important, right? But when that is your motivating factor, then it creates a bunch of behaviors that aren't to your best interest or to your client's best interest, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I can't tell you, like, over the last, like, fucking, I don't know how long, but, like, I don't know, like 20 years, let's say, since that philosophy of canotherapy came to me.
Yeah.
You can't believe how many times I have had to defend that canotherapy in itself should be free. Should always be. There's lots of ways to make money around that, but it in itself, the sharing of that, it should always be free. And so,
as the kids do, as the kids would say, cook,
right?
cook.
Right? So every time we speak, and knowing that just makes my heart very full, because like knowing that you understand that that is the perfect way, a perfect person. It just confirms that you are the right person to like carry on the vibes in whatever way, you know, whatever way that seems right at the time with what we're doing, with what the world is doing.
Yeah, that's it, right? I think it's about being, the older I get, the more I feel like life is really about being a person for your time, for your space. You know, we don't have to be like other people. We don't have to stretch beyond who we are. But like we can all be a person for our town, or a person for our county, or a person for our country, or whatever level of leadership we want to aspire to. We can all be that for our family, for our friend group. You know, we can always be that for people. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And you know, when you first started talking, you really triggered something in me, and it was so powerful. And then as I went to listen, so okay, I like kept it. And then I was listening to the rest of what you're saying, and then I forgot what it was. So I'm sure it'll come back to me later. So
it'll come back. It's out there somewhere.
I should have wrote it down. I always have my notepad beside me when we're chatting, because, you know, we inspire each other and evoke a lot of things when we talk to each other, because we're on kind of, you know, a similar wavelength in many ways.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a great week. It sounds like a real learning week. You know what I mean? Like just putting into practice, like an activity, like an exercise. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It really just showed me where there's always so much room for growth. Like it does surprise me sometimes how far I still have to go, because I'm like, wow, I've come so far in this journey. Like my, you know, who I am, how I occur to myself, how I show up in the world is so transformed. But like there's still ample like infinite possibility of things. And so weeks like this are always reminding me, like, All right. Yeah, we got some work to do. You know, we haven't figured this shit out quite yet. We got some more time in the game of life to really understand these insights. And I'm seeing like where, for like, to put it concretely, I'm seeing where there's more I can give more inside of my relationships with people, in terms of the kindness and the compassion that I feel. Like I can let more people see that than I have been, and I can allow myself to feel it more on the outside as much as I feel it on the inside. So that's one thing that came, was just like, wow, there's a greater depth of connection I can reach with people, than I could before.
You know, that is, to me, in my opinion, that is a real sign of healing,
Mm.
right? Because it's all about knowing ourselves. Like, it all starts with us. Like, I'm just not even joking, okay? Like, it all starts with. And so the more you know yourself, the more, not only do you know others, because we're all human beings. Yes, we are unique, and we relate to some more than others that more similar to us. However, you know, there's some commonalities, just like with our cannabis community. We're very diverse, but we have the commonality of you know, having passion for this plant, right? And so however that shows up, right? And I just think that a lot of people who go into service, you know, do you know what I mean by that? Like, go into
Yeah.
service to help others, right?
Yeah.
You know, whether or not they admit it, they do it to help themselves. And like, that's cool, right? Like it
Yeah.
should be a win-win situation, you know?
Yeah.
Where's that? My earrings are like flying all over. They got a mind of their own. But yeah, so like, it's not that that's wrong. It's just that it's not, in my mind, the best way, right? It's not the best way for a bunch of reasons. One, because you get distracted. Two, because there's a, you know, often brings in hypocrisy, because you're not practicing what you preach, right? Or what you're telling other people to do, you're not doing for yourself, right? My best friend, who is a psychotherapist, told me that she would never trust another psychotherapist unless they had a psychotherapist. You know what I mean? Anyways, I guess what I'm saying is, like, it's not that that's wrong, but the better way in my mind is to know yourself, help yourself, and then share that to help other people.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about this as a career, you know, I'm not talking about you shouldn't charge or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that our approach, just like if the government's approach to legalization in Canada was one of benevolence, was one of kindness and compassion, was one about doing the right thing by legalizing that for adults, the use of cannabis, then you wouldn't have all these crazy ass taxes and all these super heavy over regulations, right? So it's really important, the approach that we take to things. And when it comes to helping others, I strongly believe that if we got to help ourselves first, and whether we're, you know, doing it as a career or doing it as, you know, vocation, right, profession or vocation of helping others, we got to help ourselves first. And one thing I did want to add was that, you know, last year when I turned 60, oh my God, I can't even believe I'm saying that. Anyways, when I turned 60, as I did a whole bunch of ritual around, even though I don't normally celebrate my birthday, I feel like every day I wake up, you know, is like my birthday. It's like an anniversary. It's like a celebration day, right? Anyhow, when I turned 60, what in one of my rituals, I remember it occurred to me. I was thinking about what is the most surprising thing to me about turning 60? Right? That was one of the questions that I had for myself. And what surprised me, and surprises me still currently, is how much we continue to grow if that is what we seek. You know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, this journey of life, the only destination is death, really, if you're looking at it that way. And so I feel like one of the things that I had to do for myself, because, you know, I'm an achiever, you could say, right? I'm an achiever. I like to achieve things. Makes me feel good, makes me feel powerful, right?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, I feel that.
And you know, when I consciously set my foot upon my own healing path, I thought, you know, we are gonna do this work, like Yama Van Zandt says, we're gonna do the work, and then we're gonna be awesome. And then we're gonna carry on and do all the things that I want to achieve, right? Because I knew that my pain and my anger and my frustration and all those things that result from, you know, just the trauma of being alive sometimes, right? All those things, you know, take their toll. So I knew that, and I knew that they were keeping me from achieving what I was able to achieve, what I was capable of achieving. So I wanted to, you know, I wanted to fix that. And so my approach on my healing path was to achieve, because that's my nature. Right? And it was very, every time I thought I had achieved whatever, or to whatever degree that I needed to, I realized that no, there was lots of other things, or there were still layers of that, like peeling back an onion, you know? As I changed, as I grew and aged and changed, then so too did my awareness and insights and you know, thoughts and feelings about these things that I'm healing from. Does that make sense?
Yep, perfectly.
Great. So that is what shocked me when I turned 6. But okay. So the segue to that is, so as I, you know, I'm a slow learner. So as the decades go by, and I begin to realize that, wow, you know what? This is probably never fucking ending. This is probably like just a bottomless pit, Pandora's box.
Yeah.
You know, because if I'm still alive and I'm still breathing and I'm still being in the world and I'm still being with myself, you know, the what I'm learning along the way is helping me uncover deeper truths.
Yeah.
About myself.
Mm.
So okay, so then it's like there's not an arrival place to be. And once I realized that for myself, then I thought, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to spend the rest of my days breathing, you know, working on my stuff, because that maybe that's my path. Maybe that's what my whole purpose of being here is about, right? It's not to arrive somewhere. It's, you know, as they say, it's a journey, not the destination, because I'm in no hurry to get to that destination.
Yeah.
But anyways, so turning 60 really showed me, really startled me actually, about how much doing that, taking that approach, rather just like the gathering of experience and information and whatever, just being here, just putting the things that I learn and I read or I theorize about into action and seeing what the outcome might be, you know? See if it works for me or not. But anyways, so once I did that, I guess the point to this is that it became like, I often call it to myself, I often refer to it as playing it like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Life doesn't become a struggle as much in that way because I'm not a struggle. I'm just rolling with it, right? You know, what I understand and believe today may change, you know, a year from now, 10 years, I don't know, because it sure changed a lot as I gathered more information.
Yeah.
Right, and more experience in just in life, just being, right? So it made it a lot easier. It's kind of like going on a cruise where, you know, you don't really know where you're going. You just know everywhere you're going is going to be kind of cool, probably. Maybe some places you won't like too much, but whatever, you just get back on the ship and you cruise some more. That was quite shocking to me. So yeah, it's an ongoing process. We're not going to arrive. We might have like boundaries for ourselves, like, you know, I want to be okay, so I don't want to kill everybody every day. You know what I mean? Like, we might have
goals. Yeah, that's a good goal in life. Yeah,
right?
set that goal.
And sometimes that's the best you can do, right? That's okay. And some days, you know, and one thing I also learned in my path, I don't know if it's like this for other people, but one thing I learned was that it's not my job to fix people. Because like their path is really none of my business. You know what I mean? And
yes.
Also in healing, in your healing work, you know, the work, right? Life is gonna conspire to distract you. You know, people, places, things. It's all easily distracting. And so when it comes to helping others as a distraction from your own work at any given time, like whether you've been doing it for like a month or freaking, you know, 10 years, right? Or whatever, right? When you allow what you're putting out to distract you from your own healing and growth work, then that's not a good balance. That's not balanced. And that doesn't work really very well. Don't usually feel very happy. If joy is important to you, you don't usually feel too much joy. So that's what I'm saying about that.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it was an interesting path to go out to, like, in order for me to understand some of these insights and truths, I had to go through a phase where I was teaching people about it. That really helped me a lot, spending a couple of years in the coaching world, because I was able to see, first of all, in my clients, I was seeing like so much of the human spectrum in what they were dealing with, this problem, how this connects to this, childhood trauma, business, professional life, like personal love life, like how are these all things connected? So that was really helpful for me intellectually to be able to really deepen my understanding of this world of like awareness or healing or performance or whatever, however you angle in on it. But then there was this moment where I was like, I have all these jewels that I wanted to teach people and share with people, and nobody wanted the jewels. Like people were booking I had a 3-session package, and people would book it, they would pay for it, and they would come to 2 sessions and they wouldn't come to the third one. And the third one was where I was like, okay, this is where we're going to have this breakthrough where you're going to see how amazing you are, and you're going to see the spark to begin something deeper into your life or whatever. And I realized at some point, I'm like, well, I see it for myself. Like when I look at these principles or these teachings, I see this value. So maybe I'm just meant to apply it to me. And that's been like 6 or 7 years of just doing that and not doing anything in the professional space other than like bringing it to my professional life. There's lots of opportunities in the cannabis industry to have to be a shoulder to lean on and be a strong wind to support during tough times. So I definitely utilize all this stuff in the work that I do. And I can always tell if someone's having like a really shitty day. It's like we got to clear that out of the way before we get to the business side, because it'll just create a really, you know, disharmonious meeting. So it's in my daily life. It's how I interact with the world, but it's not something, because it's I don't know, for me, and this is not to put shit on anybody in that space who does it for a living. There are people who are called to do it. That's their thing. They are meant to be that. That's their, you know, that's what they came here to do.
It's a valid profession.
It is a very, and I seek professional support from them. I'm happy to like invest in coaching, like all of that. But it was no longer calling me in that way. And I was called to do it in a different way, in my way, and doing it for me first, like you were saying, like putting the emphasis on me and learning and discovering and realizing, oh yeah, some of these were insightful, helpful things. Some of them were meant to be at a certain level. And then when I passed it, I didn't need them anymore. And that's just where I am now. But I wanted to say one thing, what you said around this discovery that, yeah, like it's never over. And I think there was 2 really sad days in my life. One was when I realized I wasn't going to be a professional athlete. I was never going to get paid vast sums of money to play sports. You know, it was probably later in my life than I should have. The signs were there earlier, but nonetheless. And the other one was when I realized, like, someone told me something, and I was at some event or something, and someone said, integrity is a mountain without a top. It's a never-ending climb. And I was like, that's the most depressing shit I've ever heard in my life. What are you even telling me now? You're saying that as far as I've come, and the changes that I've been trying to make, that this is never going to end? It's just going to be always like this? And it took me a while to see the beauty in that. It wasn't very beautiful at first, that insight. I was like depressed for a while. I was like, well, this sucks. This really sucks. I do not want to be doing this for the rest of my life. No way. It's got to get better. And it does get better, but it doesn't end. There's just this, for me, I liked the ocean without a bottom. That was more expansive for me. So that's how I look at it. It's an endless ocean or a sky to be explored. There's no end to it. So there's no boundary to it. But yeah, that's where I'm at these days.
Once I had that realization that it's never ending. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like I totally, it's a very humbling awareness, right? But I don't know, like I think it created a lot of things. One was it really brought faith forward in me. Like I knew I needed to have, I choose to have faith. And, I looked at the road that had got me to that point and what the benefits and detriments were of, just continuing to try to not just heal, but also like to be my best self, like to move towards that, like try to be a better, decent person, try to be better at work, try to be better, like try to be just,
yeah,
whatever drives me, which I'm an achiever, so I want to be better. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, there's probably a better word for that, but I can't think of it at the moment. But there also came a time when I was having such a good time. The results were really working for me, like they were really making me happy, and I was starting to dig who I was, you know what I mean? Like be really not just at peace with who I am and accept who I am, but to actually really enjoy myself. Like really like my, I've always been a loner, but to really not be alone out of need in that way, but to be alone because I really love my own company. Mm-hmm. I love when I have no distractions except myself. Mm-hmm. But, and once that began to feel like that, then I began to feel like, oh, so if this is the journey, okay, I'm taking this ride. I'm just like, every day I wake up as an opportunity to, strive for whatever, and 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 that growth has become so important to me, much like to you, I know, because we were just talking about this, but it's become so important to me that it now has priority. Before I'm helping anybody else, before I'm, doing whatever, I'm working with me. That's why I'm so glad my business mentor, one of them anyways, she told me that one of the things that she does, and because I was commenting on this, her name and her agenda back when we had like written agendas, right? And it was like every morning at like 8 a.m. because I guess that's what time she got up. And she said, yeah, I feel like the first and the last meeting of every day should be with myself.
Mm.
And she said, if I don't mark it in there, other things will always try to take that time, try to impede me, try to get in there and take me away from what I believe is really the most important, and that's me. Because I don't think any of us, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's exceptions, you could tell me, I don't know. But I don't think anybody wants to live a miserable life. Like, why? Why would you want to do that? I think people are just disappointed and angry and all this kind of stuff, but and that makes them not like life that much. Life becomes a burden. It becomes, something they must endure.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt. So yeah, but I don't think given a choice, like if you could like sit down with someone and just like offer them this gift in this box and say, this is a joyful life, whatever that is for you, like whatever that means to you, right? Because we're a little bit different, we have different preferences. But if this is the gift of a joyful life, I can't imagine anybody that wouldn't take that. Can you?
Well, I think people who are
Yeah.
wrapped in various, like, I think what happens isn't that people don't want a joyful life, but I think there are people who are kind of wrapping themselves in these clothes of anxiety and fear their whole lives, that when freedom or joy comes a knocking, they don't know how to accept, they don't know how to open that door because they've created this for themselves. I think everybody can appreciate it. I think everyone can break through, but I do think, yeah, some people, unfortunately, they go their whole lives not trying because of a hurt or a number of hurts that have happened,
Or maybe they tried and failed.
Yeah,
You know
exactly. The fear of failure is a huge fear that people carry with them,
And it's
especially.
for real. It's for real. I know that fear of failure very well. It was like a huge thing that I had to spend a lot of time, trying to understand why I was like that and also to let that go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for whatever reason, I just feel like I first of all feel a ton of compassion for those people that are so unhappy with life for very valid reasons, right? And it's kind of like exercise, like when you don't feel physically well, or any kind of well, really, you might not feel like exercise, even though maybe or have experienced or understand that if you exercise is a wonderful way to elevate your mood.
Mm.
It's good for our health. It's good for our physical, mental, emotional, all kinds of health, spiritual health, maybe. Maybe that's how we meditate. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, I have a lot of compassion for those people because I understand what it feels like to lose hope, and I understand what it feels like to give up. And I understand also what it feels like to not feel like you have any choice.
Mm.
Yeah. So
I found it's hard to give people hope. It's hard to give people my hope You know, like I found that, um, like I found that over the years, I often would have things that I wanted to share with people. Those things used to be like drugs, and I would want to share with people. And I'd be like, here, have some of my thing. I feel so good. You should have some too. And
That's like
then,
religion. People
and then, what's that?
people do that with religion too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, here, have some. And then I realized, like, no, people don't really, I'm gonna have more fun if I keep that and I don't force them to try it. Like if I just go with myself and I have my own fun. And I find it's like it's more like that with like joy and happiness now, where that it comes from within. I Whatever happens, I have this sense of hope and optimism and this spirit of determination, that I can't imbibe into other people. And I've wanted to so many times, and I've tried so many times. And, it's definitely cost me relationships where I'm like, I see someone's greatness, for example, and I'm like, fuck it. I can't unsee that. I
Mhm.
can't unsee that greatness, and I can't unhear the thing you told me that makes me think you want something more out of life.
Right.
And unfortunately, people, even though they might have a moment where they see that window opening, if I push that too hard, they'll reject the whole thing, and they'll get put off by the whole experience, and they'll kind of retreat even further.
Yeah, well, and they do that for a variety of reasons, right? And maybe it's they're not ready, maybe they're scared, whatever, right? Like whatever
Yeah.
their reasons. And of course, when we find something good for us, we want to share it with those we care about. And if we're a caring person by nature, we want to share that with the world,
Mm.
as many people as possible. So, like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it at all. That's a beautiful thing. We're talking about the approach to it. We're talking about, some things are really wonderful to share with the public, and some things should remain private, right? And the thing about it is, much like with cannabis, the experience with cannabis is the experience with cannabis, elevation, okay? But that elevation and that experience is different, is unique to each person. So, you can't tell someone else how they're going to feel about it, right? And so that is the same with religion. It can be wonderful for you, but it doesn't necessarily have the same impact on another person. That we're talking resonance, right? We're talking, whatever. So for whatever reason, and it is annoying to have people constantly thrusting their beliefs on you. Unless it's in a podcast like this, then you're choosing to listen to it. So that's a different thing. But I'm just saying, like, I have some family members and some friends who are deeply Christian, born again Christian in a variety of different, denominations. And, I understand that their higher power is God. I get that. That's what they call it. That's how they approach it. That's everything to them. And it brings them, hopefully, so much joy that they can't help but proselytize. They can't help but share that with everybody.
Yeah.
Um, even if they know that you have not only differing beliefs, but your own personal beliefs, and you're happy with it, you're comfortable with it. You're not trying to like seeking, a connection. You got your connection, whatever it is for you, and it's working for you.
Mm.
And so I see this a lot of times, not just with religion. I see it with a lot with spiritual and wellness oriented kind of, healing service providers. How's that? And again, I'm not trying to dunk on you or anything like that. What you do is a beautiful and necessary and valued service. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, I've seen this before. I had a friend that did body talk and somebody else that did, I don't know, some other kind of somatic type stuff, healing. And like, they're all great. You know, they all have a place. They all can be powerful. I feel like it's like religion, that it's kind of like the same source, but different, you know, perceptions of it. You know what I mean? Different names, different perceptions. And so I think that the energy that we're working with, and when we're using energy work to heal ourselves and stuff like that, I believe that it's the same, and that we just tap into it different ways. And so, you know, these two are arguing about which one's healing methods were better, and I'm like, whatever. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
When we combine, especially when we combine like money or survival requirements to these modalities and practices, it kind of like supercharges it, because it's like a business, but it's also kind of a religion. It's like, it's really interesting. So when I'm talking to someone, let's say it's 2017, and I'm having a baby with my girl, and you know, we have no resources to have this child. It's like, you know, totally like out of the blue now. We have to like, I've got to like figure it out. The passion that I would bring to certain conversations was higher than it should have been if my intention was just for the healing, just for that person's well-being. Because tied to it, not only do I have to like sell you or convince you that this is something that you need and you need to purchase. This is also something that's going to help your life. And so that kind of, it can get a little muddy, especially if you're like, for me, the way I see it, hundreds of years ago, there would be, you know, an old lady or an old wizard who lived, you know, around the hill, down the valley, you know, didn't really interact with people too much, that the shaman or whatever, you know, kind of did crazy shit in the jungle by themselves, but they could heal you when you needed help. And you'd go there and you'd bring a bowl of rice or whatever, half a pig or whatever it was. And that would be how they would contribute to the community. That would be their role, was to do that. And now we still have the need for those kind of people, but we don't have that system of sharing. And so now it has to be through money. But then the minute you bring money into the equation, now you're talking about the difference between, it's hard. The challenge sometimes is between healer and influencer, or healer and business person. Those identities don't always overlap, and it can create some very difficult kind of dynamics with people, and especially people who are trying to they're trying to heal themselves, but they're also trying to get themselves out of a situation they don't want to be in. They're trying to get themselves to a better place. Sometimes that motivation can get a little bit murky.
Well, and you know, you're so right. And I think another thing that brings into it is this thing about dependence, right?
Yeah.
You know, I strongly believe that we are very powerful, much more powerful than we realize a lot of times, just as human beings. And I feel like the healing work is really about empowering someone to do their self-healing, because ultimately that's what it is.
Yeah.
And since the healing never ends, right? We were just talking about that, the journey never ends. You know, I take issue with cultivating dependence for whatever reason. Whether that's monetary or emotional, or, you know, like whatever, egotistical, because that's typically what's involved, is the ego. And you know, we love our ego, but you know, it can lead us to approaches that are less than ideal.
Yeah.
Or not just us, but for others, for the very people we're trying to heal and help, right? So, you know, much like, it's interesting because AI has a phrase that goes around that I see on groups and WhatsApp. And it is, you know, that you are the medicine. Have you seen that? Anything? No. Well, you know, it's basically empowering, and it's an empowering phrase, I'm guessing, that says, you know, that, you know, everything is within you, right?
Yeah.
And so since I believe that everything is within us, then the healing anyways, then I think I would feel more comfortable if that phrase read, you are also the medicine. Do you understand what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, because we are the alchemist. We are the alchemist for ourselves. So we are the authority of orchestrating our healing. So it's important, like, to go after, to pursue it, and like in all these different things, all these different ways, and whether it's like looking for intuitive, you know, healing, or whether it's you know, going for coaching, or whether whatever, recognize that this is just part of your journey. This is just like you know, part of the scenery, right? Like nothing and no one lasts forever, and like you shouldn't need the same, you know, kind of healing for like decades. You know what I mean? It should be different kind of healing. You know what I mean? It's good to explore, because different things will affect you at different times in different ways, right? So, you know, don't be afraid. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck in a rut of, you know, thinking that there's only one way to climb the mountain. There are many paths, and you're probably never going to get there, or you're going to get there when you, I guess, leave this earth. But it's all about that hike. It's a hike. It's not easy. So yeah, fun. I was thinking, like, I wonder what brought that up for us tonight. And I don't know about you, but like, I had an experience on Tuesday night, and I had for years, and I want to share it with you. And this is where it's coming from me, where it's coming from tonight from me. So is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for many years, decades, even some decades, I have always been drawn to the moon, right? To the moon's energy, and I have always celebrated in some way on the full moon. It's like a very good time for me. It's my celebration. And sometimes I've done that with other people, two very good friends of mine, and we used to get together and do different kinds of rituals together. And a lot of times by myself, or with me and my dog. Booker loves ritual. But this month, in the last full moon, which was Tuesday, I decided to open up and share my ritual with other people that might be interested, that maybe were looking that celebrated themselves and wanted to do their own kind of thing, but want to do it with other people. Not a lot of other people. We limited to 6 people. And so it wasn't like I was putting on a ritual for us. The approach was, you know, this is what I would be doing, but now I'm just going to do it for like 6 of us, or, you know, create the space for 6 of us. And of course, having having more than myself, having multiple people, I didn't know what it was going to be like, because we didn't have an agenda. Unlike with me and my other friends, you know, if we're going to do a ritual, we're probably going to make, you know, a ritual, right? So this was it. I didn't want to turn my own celebration into an event. Let's put it that way. And when I would celebrate the full moon, I would always include, you know, earth medicine, mushrooms, psilocybin. And so I had to explain to them, you know, like I had to do a lot of work to prepare, to be open about what was going to happen without telling them what was going to happen. Because honestly, in many ways, I don't know what's going to happen, because part of my rituals is just intuition. So it's like having all these things to choose from and just doing whatever I feel like doing. Maybe I just want to dance all night. You know what I mean? Like, so I got a couple of good playlists that I know, you know? So anyhow, it was interesting, first of all, the lead up to it, because different personality, you know, some people, like, they like to know exactly what's going down at what time, you know, like an agenda, right? And, you know, and I tried to tell them what I could, and what I couldn't, I just told them I couldn't tell them. Anyways, I'm not going to tell you about the night. It was a really fabulous night, as you can imagine. Having both plant and earth medicine, and then of course when you have them together, that creates a whole new energy. So it was pretty amazing. And yeah, it just had me thinking, like, you know, what would that have been like if that had been my first experience? You know, with, like, it happened to be all women, and we ranged in age from about, I'm gonna say 39 maybe to 60. I was the oldest, of course. But yeah, it was pretty fabulous. And of course, I was left, you know, my own integration and my own processing over the next week. We were planning to have it, and my own processing of that was just like, what a joy it feels to really dig into that Empress energy and put yourself first and honor yourself, because that's what the theme of it was. To honor yourself, and then to share that with other people who are also honoring it. It was amazing. And of course, anytime you start putting groups, small groups together, larger groups, whatever, there's a special power that comes from that collective energy as well. So, you know, even if you do this yourself, it's beautiful. And then when you do it with other people, it's beautiful too, in a different way, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just had me really thinking about integrity. And I think that's kind of what we've been talking about, you know, how I think for us, these choices that we make to approach our service or whatever, how we help others. It's not that we don't want to help others, of course, and helping others is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it's about keeping that integrity and understanding that, you know, it's like hypnosis. We don't hypnotize people. People hypnotize themselves. If you're a hypnotherapist, what you're doing is you're guiding them into hypnotizing themselves. You know, like, and that's valid, right? So healers, yes, absolutely. You're so valuable. You know, so grateful for you. Just saying that, you know, everyone has that capability. And like you said earlier, Nick, when you can look at someone and see the potential or see the beauty within, absolutely, like that is such a gift. And of course, it's very hard to not unsee that, right? But the thing is, like, I think part of the respect that we have for other people is to understand that they have this capacity, and that the greatest gift that we could give them is help them unlock that capacity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not really. But I know it gets messy. I know. And when it comes to that kind of stuff about getting paid for service work like that, I absolutely don't have an issue with it, of course, it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's totally valuable, and there's nothing wrong with, and if that is your job or your profession, there's nothing shameful about it, right? It's fantastic. But just like how rich people have to do some charities, donate to charity. just feel like I just feel like the more you can reduce barriers and boundaries to healing, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part is that integrity of, like, those people, when you put yourself in a role like that. Some people come to this life and they have lineages that they're part of, where they're brought up in these traditions and in these rituals, and they're shown exactly how to have care, how to have honor, how to have respect, and that type of tradition isn't, maybe not as easily extracted and commercialized as we would hope. And the people who I see who have not come from those family backgrounds per se, but through their own life's journey and experience, have discovered this is what the life is for them, this is the path for them. It's very few people that I meet that give me the energy of, I walk this path that I teach. Like that, I think the standard needs to be much higher for what we call a healer and for what we call a coach even. We're all coaches, we're all healers, we all can do these things, but those who aspire at a professional level, I think the standards just have to be sky high and so rigorous. Not just because we want the best out of them, but because if you want, and this is why I don't take on those type of identities anymore. It's to go through life with the ego and to be able to be that powerful and that helpful, and for it not to kind of whisper at you sometimes, or to distract you from your own growth, your own path, is like a very, very challenging life path, one that most people couldn't handle. So I think that as we kind of see more of these modalities in the world, and we see like this stuff out in the world, it's easier to discern now who is a faker. It's easier to discern who's coming from the heart and who's maybe coming from other motivations.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, there could be people that don't even care. Like honestly, maybe that it doesn't even matter to them. They're just like so hungry for help that they're willing. They don't care. And I don't know. It's so hard to. The world is not black and white. We are not black and white. We might think we are, but we're not. Okay, put in different situations, given different circumstances, who knows how you might react? You don't know, you don't know till you're doing it. And yeah, I don't know. We have some huge impediments like ego. We have, greed, greed of money, of fame, of people, of whatever, right? Greed. And often, those things are understandable, where those desires or those things come from. But I'm just saying, like, if you really want to help people, help them help themselves.
Yeah.
And lots of people do. Like I'm not trying to, make it sound like there's not, but I'm just saying, because honestly, you want someone, if you are dealing with trauma and healing from trauma, you want someone who is trauma experienced.
Yes.
And you want someone, if I'm going to see someone, I want to interview them. I'll be like, what happened to you and how did you heal from it? I don't just stop at what happened to you, right? It's not enough that we resonate. I want to know if you can help me move forward.
Yeah.
Because if not, I'm just wasting my money and I'll go put it somewhere else. Someone else. You know what I mean? But you know, that's easier said than done sometimes. Sometimes you don't have a lot of choices about what kind of help you get. So the most important thing is that you're getting some help. That's a major hurdle because a lot of people don't have the opportunity to get it. And they really are left on their own, you know, reading books, watching podcasts, you know, looking on the internet, asking AI, whatever. I can't tell you how many people have told me that they actually ask AI about like their, you know, their self.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like their inner self. And they go to AI, you know, for therapy. And like, I'm not dissing it because listen, AI has access, I mean, to, you know, all of the thoughts that are out there, right? All the best thoughts, all the worst thoughts, but all the thoughts that are out there. And, you know, it's hopefully giving you, you know, the sum of its knowledge.
Well, let me say this about AI therapy. I think a warning is due. I think a lot of people are getting great help from it, but let's remember what AI is. It's a mirror. It is not a therapist. It is not looking out for your best interest as much as it's trying to anticipate what your it's a very ego, it's very tricky because it's kind of going to feed our egos a little bit. It's hard to get it to give you like real raw feedback like you get from a person. So I think that's just something I think people can and should use it, but also should be aware that like it's kind of just mirroring what's inside your head. So if you have some toxic patterns and thoughts, I feel like it's going to come out in the feedback it gives you.
Maybe, and probably. But if that's the only thing you got, then, you know, kudos
That's
to
it, of
you.
course. No, I know, but it's almost like when you have these things, whether it's a friend or someone who's like, you know, an intern at a whatever, like they're doing their practicing, I think when you start out, especially on this journey, this is, I think, where we can kind of square this a little bit. When you start out on this journey, everything's helpful. Everything's useful because you don't know anything, right? And so you're like, astrology, that might be helpful. Energy healing, that might be helpful. Yoga, that might be helpful. Psychotherapy, that might be helpful. Everything kind of is a little bit helpful in the beginning. And it's only through time as you start to feel into who you really are that you see, oh, I'm actually more drawn to this path than this path. I'm actually more drawn to this type of person than that type of person. And I think the same as the professionals who are involved, they need to be constantly growing. And if everybody is constantly growing, then there is some positive overall benefit for everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, you know, that's I guess in a nutshell what I'm trying to say is that you get what you can, take what you want, you know, in terms of healing, and you know, leave the rest. And but really, that approach to it is more like the sampling of a smorgasbord.
Yeah.
Right? So like, I mean, I'm sure there are people, but I don't know anybody that doesn't like to go to the smorgasbord. Okay, I like that. I want to take my, you know, buffet. I want to choose what I want, and you know, whatever. Maybe try something new. So I'm just saying, like, once you adjust your own thinking to that approach, and you go out there and you seek those experiences, you seek trying other things, you become curiosity. That's where some of the joy lies. Okay? And you know, I guess to kind of tag on what you're saying, Nick, is that, you know, try to get the best help you can. So like whatever is available, try to make that a priority to give yourself the best help that you can, the best assistance. And enjoy the audition process. Like honestly, that comes from film and television, because you know, some people going to auditions. Have you ever done this, Nick? Go to an audition, it's like constant rejection.
Right.
Like if you're not, it's even hard, even if you're like solid, right, in yourself. It's hard to like deal with rejection all the time or often. You know what I mean? And so you have to find a way, if that's your choice, if you want to be an actor, then that's your choice. Then you got to find a way to like be okay with it, right? Like to deal with it well, so that you're not constantly barraging yourself with something that's making you feel like shit. So yeah, I kind of feel like that way about healing. Like, you know, it's like dating.
Yeah.
Really. You know, it's like, enjoy dating, like for its sake, because once you get wrapped up with someone, then you're probably not going to be dating. Some of you might, but probably not. So enjoy the process, because life is too short to feel like you're misplacing your energy. Feel like it's being something's being taken from you that you're not, you know, happy about getting. I think we deserve that much, don't we?
I don't know how much deserve has to do with it, but I think the opportunity is there if we want it, and everyone can get it. It's there for everyone, but I don't know about deserve, because that implies like the universe, like that means like that implies maybe there's things that we don't deserve, or I don't know. Just kind of, it's a word that I get tripped up on that word sometimes, and I think it's important. I know people really value saying things like "I deserve this," and I think that's a very positive mantra. But for me, like when I think I get too philosophical about it, maybe, and I'm like, well, what did we really deserve? We didn't deserve to be here. We just kind of were here. Is it deserving or is not deserving? Does deserve have anything to do with it?
Well, I guess it's going to depend on how, you know, whatever your belief is around us being here. But whatever it is, again, you know, like different words are going to resonate with different people, trigger different people, whatevs, you know. The intention behind it is that, you know, if you're I don't think it's for everyone either. I will push back on that. But I would say that if you're that person on that, you know, consciously on your healing path, you know, be discerning, of course. And, you know, instead of deserving, there's no better way to honor yourself. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's important. The self-honoring, that feeling of deserving is important. To feel like we belong is important. I'm not disputing like that, whatever that emotional, neurological feeling called, like, you know, I worked hard today and I deserve this rest, or I deserve this, whatever. Like that's an important part of healthy mental balance for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, like, I like what you say, it's a gangsta planet. It really is. And it's not easy being human. In fact, it's probably the most challenging thing that there is, trying to be a decent human being, trying to be okay with yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Some of the words I heard the other night from the ladies that were there were things like, I want to feel peaceful. I want to let go of my suffering. They're not saying they don't want to feel pain, because feeling pain is as important as feeling joy. I could feel that. But suffering can be alleviated by healing. Because, you know, there gets to a point where, you know, I don't know whether it's age or, you know, that place on your path, but you just get to this point where you're like, man, I am the most important actor in this show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah.
Do you?
I do, yeah. I find that, yeah, I'm looking forward to listening back to this.